Hey guys, GHAZZY TV here with another Path of Exile build guide video, and it's kind of a build guide video since it's mostly a whip, a little bit of a rough draft leading into 3.23 Affliction League, as we don't have all of the information. This PoB that I'll be showing you in the descriptions down below the video is obviously a rough draft. There will be changes coming as we get more information. Now I'm going to go through a couple of things that I've done to compensate, to replicate the changes to some degree, but some things I have completely discarded. This is a ranged animate weapon, or animate weapon ranged arms kind of approach to the lingering blades. Now, what we've done to replicate this, I'm not going to go through the details too much, but what we've done is having a lingering blade bow. It is an exact equivalent version of what we've done with the glass shank. It's a 1.5 APS, 9 DPS, 6% base crit strike chance weapon, but this time it is a bow rather than a one-handed weapon, which is the original version of the lingering blade. As you can see, this low-body build is pumping out 5.3 million shaper DPS, which is absolutely fucking obnoxious, and that is because it is fucking obnoxious. That said, the PoB includes this little jewel here. I have made sure the PoB is designed without these points. That would be a 6-point investment, so the build is in reality only level 92, so those are going to be taken away. It has duration, putting the animate weapons duration about a 91 seconds, that's 1.5 minutes, and they're going to be ranged. So the way you'll play this build is leveling with Absolution or SRS, basically Magma Orb or whatever you want to use, and then use SRS or Absolution, Cremation, or Armageddon Band, whichever you want to play with till you get the first lab done, upon which you'll pick up the Radiant Crusade, which will basically carry you all the way into the higher tier maps. And the problem obviously will be to try to get the correct animate weapon. However, you could play this, but with melee support gems for the animate weapon till you do get the ranged version of it. So that's the way you play it. The tree will be the same no matter how you do this. It's just support gems will have to be melee oriented rather than ranged if you do the ranged, the melee version. So the build will then essentially want to run over to Eldritch Battery, which works really well when you're playing with both Absolution and or SRS when you're playing. So for leveling, this is very smooth to pick up rather early. And after that, it's just a generic minion tree. You want to pick up the Sacrifice, the Spiritual Command, and all of the nodes here on the left-hand side. So what makes this build do so much damage? Essentially, the quality on the animate weapon has changed, which is why it's set to 0, and 20% quality gives you 2 extra minions. So we've put this up to 18 rather than the current version of being 16 animate weapons. So this is to compensate for the extra that we're supposed to be getting. And why it's 18 here instead of 16 is because you get 2 more from the quality. Now, besides this, we're having a support gem with minion damage, so Edwas, Predator, and Hypothermia, together with Cold Penetration. Now, later, you should be using Elemental Penetration. This is a gem that you get from a vendor recipe by selling a Replica Bitter Dream, together with a couple of other support gems. And those have to be level 20, so this is something you'll get much later, not equivalent for a level for a low-body build. So you'll sell it with level 20 Fire Pen, Cold Pen, and Lightning Pen to get this. So that's why I didn't include it. However, you want to change your Hypothermia and your Cold Penetration and your Predator for GMP, Minion Speed, and Pierce for optimal clearing setup. That is a 3-gem swap, which is quite annoying, but that's how the build will play. We're going to use Triad Grip Gloves, which is going to be 4 green for full cold damage approach, and in which we're going to have Lingering Blades, Sniper's Mark, Dash, as well as a Precision Aura. Outside of that, we'll have in our trigger 1, like most minion builds, a Desecrate in the top socket or the second socket, and Flesh Offering in below that. And the third socket will be an Aura, being Tempest Shield. Outside of that, we have a Shield Charge without fast attack, sadly. Convocation, very important. We're running a 2-link Golem with Feeding Frenzy and Carrion Golem. We have a 1-socket Determination. A 2-link with Divine Blessing, very important with the Eldritch Battery with Vol Haste. Do note that Vol Haste is not enabled or the DPS would be inflated. And then there's a 4-link setup with a Race Spectre Enemy Guardian with Mini Life Meat Shield, together with a 1-socket Unset Ring for your Steel Skin. Very important to point out that the minion resistances are not going to be capped as easily as they are with the Necromancer playing Guardian, so you're going to need to have an explicit suffix modifier with minion resistances on a Bone Ring, and you also would preferably want to have some minion resistances in a higher budget on your shield, but most importantly is to get a recovery life on shield, which you could use a surrender for. But resistances needs to be capped. So what we've done is we have a +1 level of minion skills helmet with HP, and then if we can get some extra resistances, that's good. The 1 is a +1 with a little bit of minion damage, so very cheap and easy to get early league. And we're running generic boots with high movement speed and life, and then some resistances. Jinx Juju is there with a Testudo oil, which is very cheap, giving you extra block chance. The jewels are basically just a mediocre flat fist roll. Preferably find some resistances if you need, which you are going to need. And the Darkness of Throne is a very low roll to keep the cost down. Same thing with these other jewels. They're very, very shit and very bad jewels. Very cheap to get. However, there is a replica Covenant in here. We don't know the pricing for this. This chest piece gives you about 2 million Shaper DPS. I don't know if it's going to be cheap or not, so I have it in this guide. However, if you go for anything, let's just add a tabular to give you a reference point of how much damage this build will do. You'll see yourself at 3.3 million on a low budget. Dude, so that's basically how the builds look. So you're doing over 3 million Shaper DPS in trash gear. So that's basically the low-budget approach to this build. The Pantheons will obviously Brine King and Abrath for the freeze immunity and the fire ignitions on the ground. And that's literally it. When it comes to the Animate Guardian, we'll be using a Learcast Dying Breath combo. That's basically a Gruthkul's chest piece, Dying Breath weapon, Learcast helmet, whatever boots, whatever gloves, doesn't really matter. And then when we move over to something like the medium budget version, we'll be pumping out about 27 million Shaper DPS, but the cost of this build goes much higher. First off, we're going to be using the nerfed state of Ashes of the Stars, which I have compensated by removing the RMR from here, and in which we are using the quality to get more minions from the Animate Weapon, which means instead of the 18, we have a base of 18 plus 2 from the quality, plus another 3 from the Ashes. That's 5, putting us in 23 minions. Some woke gems in here, a couple of other things adjusted, obviously, and still using the replica Covenant. We have a +2 one now instead. We have a minion shield without recovery, but a +1 minion skill on the shield. We also have a +2 minion helmet instead, and other than that, it's just higher numerical values. But most importantly, as you might have noticed here, we actually do have extra resistances on our shield as well to cap all of our minions, and the Darkness of Throne a little higher rolled. Similar to the jewels, just a little bit higher numerical rolls across the board. The flask are a little higher rolled as well, and that's about it. But most importantly on this higher budget are two things. One, we're using a proper cluster, which could be lower amount of passives than 12, but the most likely these jewels will be crafted with a 12 passive jewels, because that's the meta for these. With 35% effect and 3 attack cast speed, you can get life, you can get vicious bite, and all those things as well. However, we're also going to be in a position where the Animate Guardian gets pretty crazy. So in the Animate Guardian, we are looking at a Kingmaker. We're looking at a helmet, which is a double elevated Shaper Redeemer for minus cold rest and their enemies take elemental damage. We have an exploded chest piece with additional curse, so that we can use Gravebind gloves together with cursed enemy with elemental weakness, and Legacy of Fury for the Scorch. All of this is adjusted in the configuration as well, so that's going to be the way you play it. However, do keep in mind that when you play something like this, it is kind of preferable to take the Mastery node for 30% increased area of effect. And again, these 6 points will go away, so 124 minus 6 will put us at level 95 for the specific build. In the higher budgets, pumping about 27 million Shaper DPS with very, very high clear speed. You could always change the Ascendancy nodes back from Radiant Faith back to Time of Need. It's not a big damage decrease, about 100k, but you get a little better defense from this. Most importantly is that you need to shield charge and use a spell, which will be your curse, to make sure Bastion of Hope is active, and you start off with Radiant Crusade and with Unwavering, and then Bastion of Hope, similar as the low budget version. That's basically it. I don't know how many changes is going to come based on the information we get leading up to launch, but this is the current version of the low and medium/high budget versions of the range Animate Weapon. Hope you guys will enjoy it. Links are down in the descriptions below. And don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe for more content, and leave a comment down below what you guys think of the build. I'll catch you guys in the next one. So till then, stay safe. Keep rocking.